Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel, Jim Rohn Motivation HQ Message. Have you ever felt like you're working harder than ever, but not getting richer? You wake up early, stay up late, maybe even take on extra shifts, but the bank account doesn't reflect the sweat on your brow. I've been there, see. The marketplace doesn't pay you for effort, it pays you for value. And that right there is the shift Jim Rohn used to say. If you want to be wealthy, study wealth. But most people, they study hard work. They think if they just dig faster and longer, they'll strike gold. But what if you're digging in the wrong place? Let me tell you a little story Jim said when he was a young man. He was broke at 25. Not just broke and embarrassed. He had pennies in his pocket and excuses in his mouth. He was working hard but not smart. He was selling his time, not his value. Then he met a mentor. That man changed his thinking forever. Most people grow up believing that hard work is the key to success. It's what we're taught in school, reinforced by society, and passed down from generation to generation. Work hard and everything will work out. That's the promise, and while hard work is honorable, essential even, it's not the whole picture. In fact, for many, it becomes a trap. They work harder every year, put in longer hours, take fewer vacations, and yet their financial situation barely improves. That's because hard work alone doesn't create wealth. Jim Rohn, one of the most influential personal development philosophers of our time, understood this deeply. He once said, "You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour." This insight flips the conventional wisdom on its head. It's not about how much you sweat or how long you grind. It's about what you bring to the table when you show up. Let's look at it this way. Two people can work the same number of hours in a day. One earns minimum wage, the other earns thousands. Why? Because the marketplace isn't interested in how hard you're working. It's interested in how valuable your contribution is. Hard work is linear. One effort equals one reward. But when you increase your value, your rewards grow exponentially. You break free from the time for money trap. Many people spend their whole lives perfecting their labor, but never investing in their value. They master doing more, but never ask whether what they're doing is moving them closer to financial freedom. They climb the ladder fast, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. The truth is, you can be the hardest working person in the room and still be broke. Why? Because without value, hard work has a ceiling. Value is what separates someone who earns just enough to survive from someone who thrives. It's the difference between the person who clocks in and out of a job they hate and the one who wakes up inspired to build, lead, or innovate. It's not about being better than others. It's about being better than you were yesterday, in ways the market rewards. That's where personal development comes in. The more you grow, the more you know, and the more you can offer. When you read books, develop skills, study finance, learn communication, build emotional intelligence, or master a craft, you're raising your internal value. The marketplace responds to that. Not immediately, but eventually. You become the kind of person who doesn't just work hard. You work smart. And that shift changes everything. The trap is thinking that if you just do more, you'll get more. But life doesn't work that way. You could work 18 hours a day digging ditches, but that won't lead to financial freedom. Why? Because it's low value work. It's not scalable, it's not rare, and it's not specialized. Wealth comes when you begin doing work that not only uses your time, but also amplifies your value. Hard work is the engine, yes, but value is the fuel. Without the right fuel, your effort won't take you far. That's why so many people burn out, working longer hours, taking on more responsibility, doing everything right according to the old rules, yet still falling short financially. They're playing a game that rewards a different strategy. Jim Rohn believed in work ethic, but he also believed in philosophy, in perspective, in the mindset that shapes behavior. If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you'll make a fortune. That's the shift. That's the message. Hard work should never be discarded, but it must be directed. It must be paired with intention, strategy, and above all, personal growth. Because in the modern world, the value you bring is worth far more than the hours you put in. And when you understand that, the path to wealth becomes clearer, not easier, but clearer. Most people think wealth is about luck, connections, or being in the right place at the right time. And while those factors can play a role, they're not reliable. They can't be controlled, repeated, or taught. What can be taught, and more importantly, what can be developed, is *U*. That's why Jim Rohn, one of the most respected personal development teachers of our time, said, "Your income rarely exceeds your personal development. It's not your job, your boss, or even the economy that determines your wealth. It's who you become." This truth can be hard to swallow, especially if you've been taught that external circumstances are the main barrier to success. But once you understand that *U* are the primary factor in your financial life, everything changes. It shifts the focus away from blaming others or waiting for a break, and towards something much more powerful: growth. Personal development is not just about reading books or attending seminars. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts opportunities, who creates value in every environment, and who doesn't wait for wealth to find them. They go out and build it. That kind of person doesn't just rely on effort. They rely on skill, wisdom, emotional strength, and decision-making ability. These are all qualities developed over time, on purpose. Consider this. If you dropped $1 million into the lap of someone who hasn't developed the habits, mindset, and discipline to manage it, it will likely disappear. But give that same amount to someone who has trained their mind, developed financial literacy, built resilience, and learned leadership, and it multiplies. The difference isn't the money, it's the person handling it. That's the core idea of personal development as a wealth strategy. Wealth isn't a reward for doing more work. It's a result of becoming more valuable. When you focus on becoming more capable, more informed, more disciplined, you naturally begin to produce more. And the world pays for that. The market rewards value. It doesn't matter if you're an artist, entrepreneur, teacher, or engineer. If you become better at what you do, if you bring something rare, useful, or irreplaceable to the table, you will be compensated accordingly. Jim Rohn famously said, "Work harder on yourself than you do on your job." That sounds backwards to most people. We're taught to give everything to our work, to our employers, to our daily duties, to the to-do list. But what happens if the job disappears? What happens when the economy shifts, when roles become automated, or when your industry changes overnight? If all your energy went into your job and none into *U*, then you've got to start from scratch. But if you've developed yourself, if you've cultivated knowledge, confidence, resilience, and skill, then no matter what changes around you, *U* are still a valuable asset. You bring the value, not the job title. You carry the capability, not the company. That's the power of personal development. It makes you mobile, adaptable, and unstoppable. You become the kind of person who can rebuild from nothing because you've already built yourself. That's why the wealthy invest in themselves first. They know that the best return isn't in stocks or real estate. It's in becoming someone who can create wealth in any environment. And let's be clear, personal development isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about getting 1% better every day, reading that extra chapter, asking better questions, learning a new skill, reflecting on your habits, pushing your limits. It's not dramatic, but it's powerful. And over time, it compounds into transformation. So if you're wondering why your income hasn't increased or why you feel stuck financially, don't just look outside, look within, ask, who am I becoming? What am I learning? How am I growing? Because the answer to those questions will tell you exactly where your financial life is headed. Wealth is not something you chase. It's something you attract by the person you become. And personal development is the strategy that gets you there. For most of history, people have survived, and sometimes thrived, through labor. The more you worked, the more you earned. That was the model. You plowed the field, laid the bricks, ran the machine. Labor was the engine of progress, and in many ways it still is. But in the modern world, labor alone has limits. You can only work so many hours in a day. Your energy is finite. Your time is fixed. And when your income is tied directly to your time, you hit a ceiling. That's where the idea of leverage becomes life changing. Jim Rohn used to say, "You can't get rich trading your time for money." And that's because time doesn't scale. Once the day is over, it's over. No matter how hard you worked, you're capped. Leverage is about breaking that cap. It's about finding ways to multiply the impact of your effort, so you can earn beyond the limits of your own hands, hours, and hustle. Leverage means different things in different contexts. In finance, it might mean using capital to multiply returns. In business, it could mean building systems or leading teams. In technology, it might mean automating tasks or scaling a digital product. But the principle is the same. Use tools, systems, and strategies to expand the reach of your work without multiplying your workload. Most people never make this shift. They stay stuck in the labor model. They think if I just work harder, I'll get ahead. But working harder only works up to a point. Eventually, you run out of hours to trade, you hit burnout, you look around and realize you're exhausted, but not rich. This is why some of the hardest working people in the world struggle financially. They wake up early, stay late, do the overtime, and still barely make ends meet. Not because they aren't valuable as people, but because the system they're in only rewards labor. The value of their output is tied directly to how long they can physically keep going. Leverage is what changes the game. When you shift from labor to leverage, you begin asking new questions. You stop asking, "How can I work more?" and start asking, "How can I make more happen without doing more myself?" You look for tools that can automate. You build systems that can run without you. You train people who can take tasks off your plate. You create products, digital or physical, that can be sold repeatedly without repeated effort. This isn't laziness, it's strategy. It's understanding that real wealth is not built by doing everything yourself. It's built by designing a system where value flows even when you're not directly involved every second. That's what business owners do. That's what investors do. That's what creators do when they write a book, film a course, or build an app. They front, load the work, and then let leverage carry it forward. Even within a career or job, you can apply leverage. By becoming a leader, you multiply your impact through a team. By learning to communicate persuasively, you influence more people in less time. By mastering a valuable skill, like coding, marketing, or design, you can command higher pay for fewer hours. These are forms of leverage, skills, and influence that separate you from purely physical effort. Jim Rohn wasn't against labor. He believed in discipline, effort, showing up early and staying late. But he also believed that unless you find ways to expand your capacity through leverage, you'll always be stuck exchanging time for dollars. And once you realize that your most precious asset, your time, is limited, you start to see how critical this shift really is. You don't have to abandon hard work, but you do have to evolve it. The future belongs to those who learn how to multiply their effort, not just increase it. And once you make that shift from labor to leverage, you open the door to exponential growth, financial freedom, and the kind of life that isn't controlled by a time clock. Most people spend their lives chasing success. They run from one opportunity to another, hoping the next job, the next business, or the next connection will finally bring them the breakthrough they've been waiting for. They're constantly in pursuit, working longer hours, taking on more stress, jumping from project to project, trying to force results. But the more they chase, the further success seems to drift away. That's because success doesn't respond well to desperation or pressure. As Jim Rohn wisely said, success is something you attract by the person you become. This idea is powerful because it shifts the focus from chasing outcomes to changing yourself. Instead of running after success like it's out there somewhere, you start building it from within. You realize that success is not something you get by force. It's something you earn by alignment. It shows up in your life not because you pursued it relentlessly, but because you prepared for it quietly. Think about how most people define success. They think it's money, recognition, status, or freedom. And there's nothing wrong with wanting those things, but those are asterisk results asterisk. They're effects, and every effect has a cause. If you want to change the result, you must focus on the cause. And the cause is always who you are. Your habits, your mindset, your skill set, your discipline, and your character. When you become the kind of person who is focused, consistent, and growth-oriented, success begins to show up naturally. You start attracting better opportunities because you've become someone who can handle them. You attract better relationships, more trust, and higher levels of influence because people see your growth, your maturity, and your value. You don't need to convince anyone. You simply are the person they want to work with, learn from, or invest in. The chase, on the other hand, often comes from lack. People chase because they think they're missing something. They believe they have to prove their worth to get success. But the more you chase from that mindset, the more success eludes you. It's like trying to catch your shadow. You keep running, but it keeps moving away. That's because success doesn't respond to noise. It responds to quiet strength. Let's look at it this way. Imagine someone trying to win friends by begging for attention or approval. It never works. Real connection comes when someone is secure, grounded, and genuinely interested in others, not when they're trying to impress. The same goes for success. It's drawn to people who are becoming, not to people who are pleading. When you're focused on becoming your best self, success notices. You don't have to scream for it. Your presence speaks louder than your pitch. Jim Rohn often emphasized that success is not to be pursued, it's to be attracted by the person you become. That means the real work is internal. It's in your morning routines. It's in your discipline when no one's watching. It's in how you respond to adversity. It's in your willingness to keep growing even when there's no applause. That's where success is quietly measuring you. Not by your hustle, but by your habits. And this doesn't mean you sit back and wait. It means you prepare, you grow, you plant seeds long before you expect a harvest. You invest in your mindset, your skills, your health, and your relationships. You do the invisible work that eventually leads to visible rewards. And when the opportunity comes, and it always does for those who are ready, You won't need to chase it. It will recognize you because the truth is, success is always watching. It's not hiding. It's not random. It's looking for people who are ready, and readiness is not a feeling. It's a result of preparation. So stop running after success like it owes you something. Start becoming someone whose success would be proud to visit. Work on your consistency, your integrity, your focus, and your mindset. When you do that, you won't need to chase anything. Success will find you, recognize you, and stay. So if you've been working hard and wondering why the wealth hasn't shown up yet, it's time to stop looking outward and start looking inward. Wealth isn't just about grinding longer hours or chasing every opportunity that passes by. It's about who you're becoming in the process. Are you developing yourself? Are you increasing your value? Are you shifting from labor to leverage? And most of all, are you preparing yourself to attract success rather than chase it? Because the truth is, success doesn't come to the person who's the busiest. It comes to the person who's becoming the right kind of person. You don't need to chase it down. You need to rise up to meet it. Jim Rohn said it best, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you take that to heart, your job, your income, your future, they'll all rise to meet the level of the person you've become. Don't just work hard, work smart, work intentionally, and above all, work on *. That's where the wealth shift begins.